You are better than you think you are. We talked in the first part, and if you haven't watched that, go back and see what this series is all about. But we talked in the first part about the conscious and unconscious mind, and we will come back to that concept a lot. But I want to talk today about the second thing that you can do today to make your game better. And it's going to sound really weird, but it's the KISS principle. Keep it simple. So when you look at pool, it seems like there are an infinite number of shots and leaves and paths and all these different variables. And we tend to overthink it. We tend to make it hard on ourselves. Well, the truth is that there are only a handful of, maybe 5 half-table shots to make the ball. There are 4 routes that you can take from each of those shots. There are maybe 3 mid-table shots and maybe 2 or 3 full-table shots that among them make up 90% of all shots, of all attempts to pocket a ball in pro play. And there's a reason for that. And it has to do with risk management. But and we'll go into the risk management thing another time. What I want to impress on you is that there are only so many shots to pocket a ball on a table that you will play in many of your matches. Now, there are always outliers. There's the Chris Melling run. That was an amazing run. There were like 5 trick shots in a row. When we say trick shots, what we mean are low percentage shots that you typically don't play. Okay? But when you look at almost any match, I don't care which match it is. I don't care if it's who's shooting. I don't care if it's Earl or Efren or Shane or Jason Shaw or Fedor Gorst or I don't care. There are only a handful of shots that they shoot, and but they shoot them exceedingly well. What I will tell you is that any player, including you, can get to be an A player through 2 things. Making sure that you have a consistent stroke, and we'll talk about that in another one of these. Meaning, and when I say consistent stroke, what I mean is that you hit the cue ball in the direction and with the spin that you intend to put on it. And you get these main 5 shots on the half table, 3 in the middle and 3 on the full table. You get them down. And if you do that, you can be an A player. Now, to move above A, you do need to kind of get the rest of these. You do kind of need some of these other specialty shots. But you know what? Not every pro has every specialty shot. Take away the jump cues, and I'll bet you there are only a handful of pros who can jump successfully and consistently. In fact, some of them can't do it with the jump cues. But what I'm getting at is that when you're shooting, if you keep it simple, you introduce less variables. And if you introduce less variables, then you become more consistent at making the shots. Okay? We overthink these things. There are a million people out there telling you, hey, here are 15 ways to shoot this shot. Well, okay, so technically there might be 15 ways to shoot that shot, but there are only 1 or 2 right ways to shoot that shot. And if you know the right ways and ignore all that other stuff that people are telling you, then it becomes, the game becomes pretty easy. If you ever watch a really good player, one of the things that they talk about and that you'll hear is you'll hear people say he makes the game look easy or she makes the game look easy. Well, the reason they make it look easy is because there are typically just a few, let's call them interesting shots that are made in any tournament, the rest of or in any match, the rest of them are all just applying the basics. Keep it simple. Don't try to get fancy. Like the 2-ball that I'm shooting right now, don't try to get fancy. Just leave myself a decent shot on the 5. On the 5, just don't get fancy. Just pull it back enough to make sure that I can cinch the 6 in the side. Anything I get is good, but as long as I can see it, I'm fine. Don't have to do anything fancy. On the 6, I can roll forward, I can roll back. It doesn't matter as long as I can see the 7. So the point being that we overcomplicate things. You overcomplicate things. You start thinking about deflection and throw, and I'm going to have to hit, I'm going to hit this hard so there's going to be less deflection. Well, this goes back to the whole conscious-unconscious mind thing. If you line the shot up, your mind, after you've shot it enough to teach your mind how it works, you build in the muscle memory of that deflection on a shot, and then you let your mind worry about it. It will fix it for you through minute adjustments to the cue while you're down bridging. If you think about it, then it becomes complicated. Then you introduce variables, and then you fight yourself to get the shot. So the second key to upping your game through mental practice, mental discipline, is to stop overthinking and just take the simple shot and the simple leave. And like I said, I will follow this up with key concepts on what those shots are, what the pattern, the routes are, and what the shots, the patterns, and the concept of getting in line and staying in line, and how that makes your games easier. We also need to talk about if you're going to keep it simple, what you say, okay, well, that's 90% of the shots, but that means that one shot every rack is not going, an average of one shot every rack is not going to be simple. Well, and that's true. And by the way, 90%, 78% of all statistics are just made up. I don't know that that's the actual number, but it's extremely high. And in fact, I would suggest that more than 50% of all shots to pocket a ball in professional play are a variation of stun to the rail and spin to the leave. Go watch them. Go watch a match. Stun to the rail, spin to the leave. That is the standard in pro pool, because it's an easy shot, it's repeatable, it's the same every time. And we'll talk about that one at length, because I guarantee it's more than half of the shots to pocket a ball. So also, so like I said, 90%. Well, what about the other one? Well, you know what? When you start talking about risk management, if the other one's not a standard shot, you can always play safe. In fact, safety play is more important, or it's at least as important as shot making. Why do I say that? Well, recently, Fedor Gorst played Jeffrey DeLuna a race to 100 on breaks where he made a ball. Fedor was 49% to run the table. Think about that. 49%. Across all of professional play, the average the average break and run percentage is somewhere around 20%. Okay? Professional matches, high-level matches, are not won by pocketing balls. Professional matches are won through strategy and safety play. If you watch high-level pro matches, what you'll see is that if there's a degree of difficulty to the run, ball frozen, cluster that has to be broken up, what you'll see is that they might take 2 or 3 tries at breaking it out as early as possible. But if they don't get the breakouts, then they're perfectly willing to duck to play safe. And that's because of this whole KISS principle. Okay, they don't want to shoot hard shots. They'll shoot the hard shots if their risk tolerance level will allow it. But for the most part, if there's a lot of risk to a run, they won't even try it. They'll bail out and go for a safety and try to get ball in hand. Um, it's rare to see three fouls, but they do happen. Um, and the reason it's rare is because both players are usually pretty close in terms of getting out of a safety. But what you'll see is that they're looking to get to those basic shots. Now, the first shot when you come to the table, you're stuck with what's on the table. But after the first shot, sometimes two, rarely more than two, but after the first shot or two shots, then at that point they're in line and they're going to stay in line. And if they get out of line to where it's too risky to take a shot, they're going to play safe. Well, you should be doing the same thing. Keep it simple. Keep it to shots you can make. Okay? Don't try to do too much with the cue ball. There are very, very few cases where you actually need to do crazy things with the cue. They're and they're usually related to having to break something out. If you don't have a breakout, then you can just move the cue around the table. You can see in all of these runs that I'm doing in the background here while I'm talking, all of them, all I'm doing is managing my angles and leaving myself the easiest shot that I can leave and still have my angle. So think about that. Keep it simple. If you can deliver the cue consistently, if you can keep it simple and avoid the risk by playing safe when you have a shot that you can't make or that you can't control the cue ball on, then you'll find that you really are an A player. You are better than you think.